For those of you who regularly follow this blog and my social media, you'll know that I love life lessons, and there's nothing better than finding a lesson in one of life's most mundane activities and translating that into action. So, story time, introducing the Protea mission. Here's the educational bit. The Protea is South Africa's national flower. In fact, such a favourite that we actually named our national cricket team after the flower. But it's not just an ordinary flower. The journey in life that this plant takes is a remarkable one, filled with struggle, hopelessness, and sure death, followed by abundant, radiant glory as it fills most of the open spaces throughout South Africa with its beauty. You see, the Protea seed only germinates through fire and smoke. So it goes without saying that when the tragedy of the very common bushfires take over the mountains of South Africa after a dry and windy spell, there's a sense of hope that amidst all of this, you will still see, when all the grey and the black is gone, you will see that out of the ashes these incredible plants will rise again in full splendour. But the sad part, for me, these beautiful flowers only really grow well in South Africa. As part of the indigenous fynbos vegetation, trying to have a little bit of home when you're living on, say, on the opposite side of the world as I do, is somewhat of a challenge. But that didn't stop me recently. I found someone in the UK that grows proteas and I got my hands on some seeds. So in order to simulate the perfect germinating environment, knowing what they need, I gathered as many dry leaves and twigs that I could find, and I made a fire on an old baking tray. I tried to create the perfect smoky, smouldering consistency by adding a bit of water and mixing it all together. I then added some ordinary river sand because ironically proteas don't like very nutritional soil. As long as it drains well, they're happy. So I really tried hard. Completely contradicting my gardening know-how, I tried to strip back as much goodness as I could to emulate the perfect growing condition for what I thought and hoped would be an incredible thing. So lovingly and painstakingly, I placed each little seed into its own little pod and I covered them up, turned the heating on and hit the clock on my 3-week wait to see whether my efforts have paid off. And while this was happening, as it so often does, I got to thinking about what this means for me and in my own working world. So often, we just give too much. We give what we think our clients need. We overshare, we overdo, we overcommit. We try to be what they're not, and we try to think where they aren't. But how many times do we as business providers end up confused as to why it simply just did not work? Why, when we've given so much? It's a conundrum. Well, the reality is that perhaps like my tiny little fluffy Protea seeds, maybe, just maybe, we should have spent more time looking at what their perfect conditions should have been and focused more on emulating that in order to produce the best looking specimen you've ever seen. Maybe then we would have delivered exactly what they needed. So fast forward. My seeds never germinated. Everything dried up. They never sprouted. They never greeted me with their sticky green heads above the ashes and dirt with a smiley face. And I haven't had the joy of seeing a king protea standing tall in my garden. But at least I know that these little buddies have left a resonating impression on me and the way that I interpret the perfect conditions. Taking time to understand what your perfect conditions should be and what the conditions are that resonate well with your audience and your client is where you should be spending some time. And if you need help identifying what that is and translating that into action, give me a shout. For more information, visit freshbrewmarketing.com. Thanks for watching.